There is a moment, every human being knows it. The moment before something terrifying. The job interview. The difficult conversation. The step into the unknown that you have been avoiding for weeks, months, sometimes years. Your heart accelerates. Your palms dampen. Your mind floods with every possible way this could go wrong. And in that moment, you retreat. You delay. You find a reason why today is not the right day. Now consider this. The samurai walked into situations 1,000 times more terrifying than anything you or I will ever face. Situations where the wrong step meant instant death. Where fear was not a metaphor, it was a physical reality standing 3 feet away with a sword. And they were not fearless. They had simply learned one thing about fear that most people never discover. One thing. Not a system. Not a philosophy. One precise understanding that changed everything. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what it is. Let us be honest about what fear actually costs you. Not the dramatic fears, the ones that arrive rarely, but the quiet, daily fears that shape every decision you make without you even noticing. The fear of being judged, so you stay silent when you should speak. The fear of failure, so you never fully commit to the thing that matters most to you. The fear of looking foolish, so you stay inside the boundaries of what you already know is safe. The fear of rejection, so you never reach for what you actually want. These fears do not announce themselves. They disguise themselves as wisdom, as patience, as waiting for the right moment, as being realistic. But underneath every disguise is the same thing. A life smaller than it should be. A version of yourself permanently held back from what you are actually capable of. And the standard advice, feel the fear and do it anyway. Courage is not the absence of fear. These sound true. They are true. But they do not actually tell you how. How do you walk toward the thing that makes your chest tight and your mind scream retreat? The samurai had a precise answer. Not motivational. Not inspirational. Practical. Surgical. And it works in the actual moment of fear, not just in theory. Yamamoto Tsunetomo, the author of the Hagakure, wrote what is perhaps the most misunderstood sentence in all of Japanese warrior philosophy. The way of the samurai is found in death. Meditating on inevitable death, one should make careful decisions, act quickly, and live without regret. When modern readers encounter this, they assume it is dark, morbid, the philosophy of a culture that romanticized dying. They have misunderstood it completely. Tsunetomo was not celebrating death. He was describing the only reliable method ever discovered for neutralizing fear at its root. The method is called Shur no Kakugo, the readiness of death, or more precisely, the complete acceptance of the worst possible outcome before you begin. Fear, at its core, is always the same thing regardless of its surface appearance. It is the gap between where you are and a terrible outcome that might happen. The mind looks at that gap and panics. It tries to calculate, to plan, to guarantee safety before moving forward. But safety cannot be guaranteed. And the attempt to guarantee it before acting is precisely what creates paralysis. The samurai closed that gap not by making the outcome safe, but by accepting it as already real. The one step, Shur no Kakugo, pre-acceptance of the worst. Here is the practice, exactly as the samurai performed it before any situation that provoked fear. Before the battle, before the difficult encounter, before the step into the unknown. They sat quietly and they asked themselves one question, and they answered it completely and honestly without flinching. What is the absolute worst thing that can happen here? Not vaguely, not quickly, in full, precise detail. They imagined the worst outcome as though it had already happened. They felt it. They sat with it. They let it be real in their minds for as long as it needed to be. And then they accepted it. Not as a likely outcome. Not as a desired one. But as a possible one that they were prepared to face. And in that acceptance, the fear changed. Not disappeared. Changed. Because fear feeds on uncertainty. Fear is the feeling of being in a gap between the present and an undefined terrible future. The moment that future is defined, truly faced, truly accepted, the gap closes. And without the gap, fear loses most of its power. What remains is something different, something quieter, something the samurai called Haijoshin, ordinary mind. The calm, present, functional state that exists on the other side of full acceptance. Let me make this concrete for your life. The thing you are avoiding right now, the conversation, the commitment, the leap, sit with it tonight. Not to plan, not to strategize. Ask the question, what is the absolute worst that can happen? Answer it fully. Let your mind go there completely. The rejection, the failure, the embarrassment, the loss. Sit with that worst outcome until it feels real, until you can see it clearly without the heart racing. And then ask the second question that the samurai always asked next. If that worst thing happened, could I survive it? Could I continue? In almost every case outside of physical danger, the answer is yes. Yes, you could survive the rejection. Yes, you could survive the failure. Yes, you could survive the embarrassment. It would hurt. It would cost something real. But you would continue. And in that realization, I could survive the worst. The fear reveals itself for what it truly is. Not a warning about a fatal danger, but a discomfort signal about an uncertain outcome. Discomfort is survivable. Always. This is the shift that sure no Kakugo creates. Not false courage. Not pretending fear does not exist. But the clear-eyed recognition that the worst imaginable outcome, while real and painful, is not the end of you. The practice in real time. The samurai did not only practice sure no Kakugo in quiet moments of preparation. They trained it until it became available in the actual moment of fear, when the heart is already racing and the mind is already screaming. In that moment, they had one physical anchor. They dropped their awareness to the hara, the point 2 inches below the navel, the body's physical center of gravity. They breathed into that point. Not a long breath, not a calming technique. A single downward breath that moved awareness from the panicking mind into the stable body. This is not metaphor. Physiologically, shallow chest breathing accelerates the fear response. Deep abdominal breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, physically shifting the body's state from panic toward calm within seconds. The samurai combined this physical anchor with a single internal phrase, what the Zen tradition calls a koan or a warrior's mantra. Shoganai. It translates as, it cannot be helped. It is as it is. Not resignation, not defeat, but the warrior's acknowledgement that the present moment, including the fear, including the danger, including the uncertainty, is exactly as it is. And from exactly this point, action is still possible. The breath to the hara. The words show jienai. And then movement. Forward. Into the thing that frightened you. Not because the fear is gone, but because the fear no longer has the final word. Why this works where other methods fail. Most fear management techniques try to reduce the fear before acting. They try to make you feel better first, then move. The samurai method reverses this completely. It does not wait for the fear to reduce. It accepts the worst possible outcome, finds that survival is still possible, anchors in the body, and moves with the fear present, not after it has been resolved. This works because fear is not actually reduced by reassurance. The mind that is afraid is not calmed by being told, it will probably be fine. It does not believe that, cannot afford to believe that, but it can believe this, the worst could happen, and I could survive it, so I will move now. That is not optimism. That is warrior logic. And warrior logic, unlike positive thinking, is available even when the fear is at its strongest. At the beginning of this video, I promised you one thing. One simple step, not a system, not a philosophy that the samurai used to master fear. Here it is completely Shinokakugo. Pre-acceptance of the worst. Ask what the worst outcome truly is. Sit with it until it is real. Accept that you could survive it. Anchor in the body with one breath to the hara. Speak the warrior's truth, show jienai, it is as it is. And then move forward. Not because the fear is gone. Not because the outcome is guaranteed. But because the warrior who has already accepted the worst has nothing left to lose, and therefore nothing left to fear. Tsunetomo wrote in the Hagakure, "If one is resolved to die, he will not be particular about anything." He meant, the man who has truly accepted the worst outcome is free. Free from the paralysis of uncertainty. Free from the endless calculation of safety. Free to act with the full force of himself, without reservation, without holding back, without the half-commitment of someone still trying to avoid all possible pain. That freedom is not reserved for warriors who face death. It is available to any person willing to sit quietly with the worst possibility, and discover that they are stronger than that possibility. You are stronger than your fear. The samurai knew it. Now you do too. If this path resonates, subscribe. Because each video on this channel is a step deeper into the ancient knowledge that transforms ordinary men into warriors of the mind. The next video is waiting. And this time you already know you can face it.